See the stage, hear the vibe. Pumped up to get ready for the fight. Big dreams, one chance, be the star. I'm the winner coming out of the dark. No fear, getting ready for the ride. Yeah, stepping into the light. No limit, aim high. No limit, the prize is mine.
Step out as a motivator. Let them know that the weight's up. That's how we know when we level up. Ay, that's how we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up.
Back against the wall, still I'm standing tall. Know about the ball, I got my fan with me. All we know is ball to empty out the mouths. The chosen one they call, I take my fan with me. Know about it if you tell, know you're breaking codes. Want your credibility and all fall like dominoes. Can you really take a stance? All I wanna know. Need me real ones when it's time to go. Stepping in, elevator. This is to all the haters. That's all we know when we level up. Yeah, that's all we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up. I found out I'm not alone. 'Cause I'm just like you. There's no failing when we fight. We're not afraid to. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ESL Mobile Open. I'm your host, Paul Varum Toddkill, and we're here for the ladder finals for ASPHALT 9 Legends for our fall season. And ooh, am I so excited. So excited, in fact, that I absolutely can't do this by myself. Glitter Explosion, of course, is back. And we're very ready for today. Not only are we going to be recapping all the great stuff that's happened over the last week, but we get to crown ourselves some champions on iOS and Android.
Yes, and I have been waiting to be able to do the ASPHALT 9, just anything outside of the mobile. You know how much I like watching this game, so I'm very excited for today.
Look, these racers every single season keep stepping up, and we've been like huge fans of just watching this every single week, how the players are going about it. But look, if you're just joining us and you're like, wait, guys, slow down. What is going on? Welcome to the Mobile Open. It's a fantastic opportunity for you to get involved in mobile esports across a bunch of different games all around the world. In fact, we have a shot for you to get involved in, this level of competition, which is great. It's open to anyone to get involved, and we have real life cash, money, prizes. But there's a lot going on this season, so let's take a look at how it all works.
Welcome to ESL Mobile, the home of mobile esports. ESL Mobile is a global program designed to give you an opportunity to compete in your favorite mobile games, featuring multiple game titles, taking place in 3 regions and offering 2 levels of competition. There's something here for everyone. ESL Mobile Open is the gateway to competitive play, free to join and open to any resident of our supported regions. This is the best way for you to enjoy the thrill of victory and take your shot at winning cash prizes. Each season of Mobile Open will consist of 2 ladders, and the top competitors from each will qualify for the Mobile Open play-ins. ESL Mobile Challenge is your path to glory. If you are a top competitor in the Mobile Open play-ins, you will earn a spot in the Mobile Challenge season. The top team from each ladder will skip the play-ins and qualify directly for the Mobile Challenge season. This is where you'll have the chance to compete against the best players in your region. At the end of each season, top Mobile Challenge players will compete in the Mobile Challenge Finals to determine a winner and be crowned their region's champion. ESL Mobile is for everyone. This is your opportunity to join a diverse and growing community of players across the world and see just how far you can go.
All right, now that you guys know how all of that works, of course, we have to tell you a little bit about the show if you haven't joined us before in the past. And Viram and I are your hosts for the Mobile Open Recap Show, where we get to show you guys all of the awesome action that went down the week prior. And today is extra special because it is just Asphalt 9. So we are actually going to take you guys through how all of the players got here today.
Absolutely. I mean, these were the leaderboards, the state last week. These were the top players in North America on iOS and Android. A lot of names we're familiar with. You know, Yogg, formerly Wildhair, up there at the top, previous winner here in ESL Mobile, but a lot of other names that we don't necessarily know. Names like Pera, a name we do know, like Marf, who's up there, who, I don't know, maybe joining us later on in the show. Spoilers ahead, as well as some other fun names like Cynical and I Am Trash. But this is just the iOS leaderboard. We also have to take a look at Android and see how these players stepped it up. A lot of, again, familiar faces, players you talked about. Pickle, Diesel Dragon, Joker is back, as well as Proud Papa just squeaking into that top 8.
Yeah, and we love the fact that this is yet again another situation where we see all of those recognizable names and then newcomers stepping up on the leaderboards, making a name for themselves. It's so awesome to see. Now we're going to jump into some highlights from last week, but I think we're going to do things a little bit differently this time. We're actually going to show you guys our third place races because literally every race was so good this time around.
Oh, 100%. Firam may have some breakdowns of our first and second place matches, races, I should say, which means we got to take a look at these third place racers who still put up blisteringly fast times. I Am Trash is the name of this player, yet given how well they raced here, I wouldn't say it's necessarily probably the least accurate of any of the names here.
I feel like that has to be the point, right? It's like you are lulling your competitors into a false sense of security because they're like, oh, this person is clearly trash. And the next thing you know, they're topping your leaderboards. Okay, they are podium. And that was pretty much a flawless run. I mean, obviously, you had a couple that were just barely a little bit better, but strong performance from I Am Trash.
Oh, 100%. Now we're heading over on the other side with Daniver, who we've seen week over week here in the top 8. An incredibly consistent racer, someone who pulls off the tricks at the right times. And, you know, we look at sort of these two races side by side, Glitter, and on this one in particular, there's no ifs, ands, or buts on what the best route is. Really, it only comes down to some mild timings on when players opt to use their boost, how they're managing their nitro efficiency. But in stuff like this, he's going to hit the shockwave right as he lands to make sure that he gets that additional boost of speed heading into that air, maintaining that airspeed as best they can. But this is just cut and dry. That is just clean racing from both of these players. As we can see in the head-to-head, it's basically identical.
Yeah, and that's why I love that we can do this head-to-head for Asphalt 9, because this really is one of our titles where every minute mechanical decision or route difference, you know, like there are the smallest things that can make a massive difference in your time for this game. So being able to compare what our racers are doing here side by side is so nice to break down. And we have seen some massive differences in previous weeks, but this one particularly, you were even saying it yourself in Viram, it is so close. It's so close to being identical. It is those micro differences that kind of split hairs for those extra tenths, hundredths of a second in the time.
That's literally what it comes down to at this level of play. Hundreds of seconds. We had a tie once. That was terrible. Yeah, fun fact, we had a tie once. But yeah, so it has been so close. And look, if there was anyone who's going to help break down the minutia, those minuscule differences between, I don't know, top races like this, of course, it's our one and only Firam, who's back to break down some of these top races from last week. Let's take a look.
Thanks, Paul and Glitter. Well, how time flies. We are on to our fourth and final recap today. My name is Furum, and I will be your co-host in the finals of the ASPHALT 9 portion of the ESL Mobile Open Fall 2021 season. And these finals are going to be held today and not too long from now, and co-hosted by me and Verum and perhaps another special guest. You'll be able to find it on ESL Mobile's Twitch as well as their YouTube, so I hope to see all of you there. Since this is our final recap of the season, I wanted to do something a little bit special for this time. So not only showing the #1 winners of both iOS and Android, but also the second place finishers on each of the platforms. So now we are watching the run of the second place player on Android, Diesel Dragon. He crosses the finish line with a final real time of 43.956. Next up, we are going to be checking out the run of the racer who got second place on iOS, whose name is Cynical. Now, once we get to the first place winners on each platform, I'm going to be talking a bit more about specifically what they're doing on the tracks and all the details like I usually do, but I want to take this opportunity to speak a bit about the track itself, because this is a new one. Auckland is the newest track to come to ASPHALT 8. It just came in the last update, and it's set at night on a track inspired by real-world circuits. It's got a lot of twists and turns, but the Bugatti Divo seems to be able to handle them fairly well. Now, this is a higher-end S-Class car. It isn't the fastest car in the game, but it does have pretty good acceleration, and the drifting, while not the best, is certainly tight enough to get around the turns with as much ease as you might want on a track such as this. And Cynical finishes his race with a final real time of 44.270. Now we're moving on to the first place winners on each platform, beginning with A9UF Pickle on Android. At the beginning, he goes to the right and takes this first barrel. This is so he can get up his speed as quickly as possible through gaining some airspeed, and then goes directly to a straight ramp without doing a 360 off of it. This is because he already had plenty of nitro and is able to just drift here and then be able to shockwave out of this turn. Then he drifts slightly around this next curve, does a punch drift to keep up his speed, and then just double tap nitros throughout this section. Then again, drifts around the next turn. Auckland is absolutely one of the most twisty tracks we have seen so far this season. So you will see the similar strategy in a lot of runs of drifting around a lot of them and then just shockwaving straight out of them, and then landing over to the right there allows you to get a little bit more of an airspeed boost going off the ledge, and Pickle finishes with a final time of 43.889. And now it's time to check out the lap of the winner of the final iOS qualifier, Yogg. You may remember him from previous seasons. He competed back in the spring season and also even in previous seasons as Wildhair. He takes the same route as Pickle at the beginning and is even able to shockwave off the second ramp. Going from ramp to ramp like that really helps keep a car's momentum high, and therefore keeps your airspeed higher for longer. Another thing to note is that this is actually one of the shortest ASPHALT 9 tracks that we've seen in ESL Mobile Open before, which I think is one aspect of it that leads to such close time differences between the players. Now, this is a pretty interesting part coming up. So you want to shockwave off the ramp, but then if you go over to the left, there is this little raised part, where if you go off of it at the end, you're able to keep some airspeed longer, and Yogg finishes with a final real time of 44.091. Now let's take a look slowed down at the two top runs in iOS and Android driven by Pickle and Yogg to see if we can spot perhaps any little differences between them. Yogg goes ever so slightly higher off this ramp, and he's actually able to get 3 barrels versus Pickle's 2. This is why he's able to have enough nitro for a shockwave off this ramp, but that doesn't actually make up for the time that he lost by going slightly higher on the ramp, because Pickle is actually slightly in the lead at this point. But then for the next 30 seconds or so, their runs are almost identical. They both do a slight punch drift at almost the exact same time around that turn, then shockwave out of it, and it's just insane how synchronized they are. See, around this next turn, they both start drifting, and then they again punch drift at almost the exact same time. It's so satisfying to watch these players. They both pick up the blue nitro and then use their nitro over this slight patch of rough terrain on the side of the track so that they can have a better line and angle going into this next big curve. As they shockwave out of the turn, you can see that Pickle is clearly slightly ahead of Yogg at this point in the track. And here is where they differ a little bit again. Pickle hits nitro earlier than Yogg and then goes down to double tap nitro for the ramp, but Yogg gets a perfect run and is able to shockwave up the ramp, giving him a bit better airspeed. They both go off the ledge to the right, again with Yogg still having his shockwave. And now all that's left is the final turn. Pickle doesn't quite get enough nitro to be able to shockwave, but he still takes the victory by a slight margin. If you would like to see more awesome racing from these top players, be sure to tune in for the final rounds happening today. Now back to Paul and Glitter.
Okay, we talked about the infinitesimal minute differences, and God, Fiorum just did such a good job of breaking down exactly visually what we were talking about.
Yeah, a little stuff there, like, again, waiting like 1 second to get that additional shockwave to be able to carry it through onto the ramp to get that little bit of additional airspeed. And it's like one tiny decision has so many huge repercussions on the outcome here. And these players are making these calculations like in, again, fractions of seconds. It comes down to instinct, reaction time, and then knowledge and practice and experience. And that experience is going to be tested today because they're going to be racing head to head. That's sort of what it's all about. They did so this week. So we get to see the results today, and I cannot wait to see who was crowned our iOS and Android champions, which means we're going to say goodbye to you now for a little bit, though. We're going to do a short break. When we come back, Fiorum is here, and a special guest, I teased it earlier on, is going to be here to cast some amazing Asphalt 9. So don't go anywhere.
Ready for it.
Hello, and everyone, welcome back to the ESL Mobile Open. I'm your host, Paul and Verum Toddkill, and we're here for our ladder finals for Asphalt 9 Legends for our fall season. And I have to say, players got down to business and raced this week, and I cannot wait to see who came out on top on our iOS and Android ladders, respectively, which means I need some big brains to help me break down all these plays to bring us all this fantastic action. And of course, wouldn't be quite the same if Fiorum wasn't back to help us cover all these races. Fiorum, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Paul. I'm really excited to be here today to help cast another ESL Mobile Open season. We're seeing some returning faces, some new faces. I think it's going to be a lot of fun today.
That's definitely the name of the game here. Some veterans and some new folks joining us here as well, which is perfect as I introduce a new face here. It's Marf joining us on the casting desk, a face we've seen, or a name at least, that we've seen quite a few times on our leaderboards over the last few weeks, joining us now on the broadcast. How you doing, sir?
I am doing really excellent. This is super exciting for me. I've been on the leaderboards many times, and it's great to be on the other side.
Absolutely. And you know what it's like to race at this tippity top level. So I'm expecting, should have taken that turn a little bit tight. And when we know that you say it, that it's actually legit coming from someone who knows these tracks and these cars inside and out, just like every single one of these top competitors who've made it here to our bracket. Now let's take a look at exactly what races we have in store for us tonight. Starting things off on iOS, we have Pera going up against Yogg Saran, and Nerd Rides Bikes facing up against the J. And Fair, I'm looking at this first matchup. This is interesting because obviously Yogg Saran is someone we know.
Oh, definitely. Yogg Saran has been in several of the seasons before. He's won one before as Wildhair. Pera, though, a newcomer on the block. It'll be really interesting to see how he's able to do, because, I mean, to get into these playoffs, you have to have played extremely well in the qualifiers himself. So he's going to be a tough one, I think.
100%. And I mean, Marv, you've, raced, albeit tangentially, against these players, looking at, this first matchup. I mean, Pera's definitely the underdog coming into this, but I mean, anything's possible.
Absolutely. And I've actually raced against Yogg Saran in a live match before, and well, let's just say it didn't go well for me, but we will have to see how he handles this situation. Again, he's a returning face, so it'll be interesting to see if he can defend his legendary status.
Oh, absolutely. Legendary status. I love to hear it. We'll see if this David and Goliath story is going to play out the way we expect, or maybe see some upsets here as the first race is ready to go. So I'm going to leave it to you to take it away as we get into this very first race.
All right, so we're getting into our very first race, Yogg Saran versus Pera on Rome. They both use their nitro toward the beginning. Yogg Saran, it looks like he pushes Pera out to the outside. Pera hits a truck, and Yogg Saran is able to take an early lead and take these ramps slightly ahead of Pera. And then Yogg Saran, unfortunately though, he misses the ramp. Pera's able to take a slightly shorter route over to the right. And Yogg Saran getting a little bit behind here.
Yeah, Pera's going to get a lot of airspeed here, but it looks like Yogg Saran's catching up. This is an incredibly intense fight as they switch positions back and forth. Yogg Saran, what happened there? That has got to be a very costly mistake. Pera takes an intense lead here, and oh my gosh, this could be the end, honestly, at this point. Pera's going to have to make a devastating mistake in order for Yogg Saran to catch up, but we know what he's capable of. We're still holding out to see, but man, that was something I was not expecting.
Yeah, what an upset. Yogg Saran may have been trying to do... Oh my goodness.
God.
And then he wrecks again. That is a tough part of Rome. I'll give him that. It did not pay off for him at that point. Unfortunately, it looks like his tricks have not paid off well this first round, and Pera has gotten just further and further ahead. At this point, Pera would probably have to make a couple of mistakes in order for Yogg Saran to beat him, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. And something interesting I wanted to mention is Yogg Saran was really taking a risky route with that.
Oh my goodness,
gosh,
again, a third one.
This is really uncharacteristic of Yogg Saran. And wow, again, we're going to repeat this a lot of times, but this was just not expected of Yogg Saran. He's a returning legendary status player here. And I don't know if it's the nerves or something, but again, this was just not quite what we were looking for.
Yeah, it must be. And I mean, probably after that first wreck was where he got a bit nervous and then started making a few more mistakes. But remember, guys, this is only the first out of a potential 3 rounds. We could see him come back. He's done 2-0s before, so he could very easily come back and do that again now. But, I mean, Pera has shown that he's been very consistent in this race, so we'll have to see how he's able to do.
Absolutely. And again, that 2-0 is going to be very important. Yogg Saran's done it before. Can he do it again? But this time, it's going to be a reverse sweep.
Yeah, so now we have to see whether or not he's going to be able to pull it back again in the second and third rounds. Because, I mean, if he wins the second round, then, I mean, Pera is going to have to win the third one, and we'll have basically a sudden death match in the final 3. But let's see what happens. So we're moving into our second race of the first match, Yogg Saran versus Pera again, this time on Pearl of the Orient, I believe, a Shanghai track. Pera using some nitro early on, pushing Yogg Saran off to the outside. Pera does get an early lead, but ooh, it looks like Yogg Saran takes a slightly different route, shockwaves, and is slightly behind Pera still, although they're almost neck and neck. Yogg Saran really likes his shockwaves.
Yeah, these guys are bumper to bumper, rail to rail right now, and Yogg takes that shockwave a bit later than Pera, and that's going to cost him a bit of time here, but they're still right behind each other. This is milliseconds we're talking about. At any time, they're going to pass each other, and oh, here we see it a bit. They're colliding. This is going to be an intense battle, as it looks like Yogg does take that turn a bit more concisely than Pera, so that nets him that little bit of speed and that lead that as we go into the final stretch of this first lap.
It does, really. Just that little bit of extra speed you gain can really make a big difference, especially in a car such as this one. And Yogg is able to just go straight instead of 360 like Pera, which allows him to gain an even slightly bigger lead heading into the second lap. But again, they're both still neck and neck. Anything can happen. I think Pera has definitely shown himself to be a worthy contender, and I bet Yogg was not expecting this at all.
Yeah, he's got to be shaking in his boots right now. Like, who is this guy? What is happening right now? But airspeed is going to be the name of the game. Yogg, he's got to keep that airspeed up as much as possible. And we're going to have to see how he deals with these next couple of turns here. Sometimes players can mess up on that little space there, but it looks like these players have got it nailed down, as we'll see as they come into one of these 90-degree bend corners here. And it looks like both of them are taking it very well. Oh, Pera does not have shockwave, so that is going to net him a bit of a speed loss. Again, Yogg getting that little edge, not only in nitro management, but also in cornering. So it looks like as we head into the final stretch of this second lap, Yogg, he is poised to take this one, and now we got a race on our hands.
He really is, and he finishes just, I mean, gosh, this has got to be tenths of a second ahead of Pera, and I think one big thing that made the difference there, Yogg was able to keep the shockwave a lot better, which is really important on a track like this one, to just keep up your top speed, and I just don't think Pera was able to do it quite as well.
Yeah, shockwave is one of the most important factors in Asphalt 9. It really nets you the most amount of speed in the shortest amount of time, and utilizing that is just way too important to miss, and unfortunately Pera missed a couple of shockwaves there. So we're going to see if he can pull it back in this third race. This is it. This is the decider.
Yes, we are down to 1 versus 1. We've had one win for Pera, one win for Yogg, and we're on US Midwest in our final race. Yogg taking an early, well, not a lead. Pera takes the early lead, but he takes an early shortcut. And it looks like, oh my goodness, Yogg,
oh, no.
Again, the bad luck on the low barrel. And then Pera again takes the lead early on this race. This almost looks like a repeat of the first race.
Yeah, this is really quite unfortunate. I don't know if he's trying to go for some different moves that we haven't seen before. It certainly looked like that on Rome, but it just hasn't worked out. The risk did not pay off, and Pera is reaping those rewards, and he took a bit of a safer route throughout the past couple of races, especially after he took the lead. And, well, it really just comes down to if Pera can not mess up. That's really it. But, man, I don't know what to say here for Yogg. This was really not something we were expecting.
Yeah, I don't either. I did not expect this at all coming into it. And both of them have got to be really nervous right now. I mean, Pera, he's ahead and could easily win. Oh my goodness. Then Yogg again messes up. I mean, I think his nerves have probably been a little bit frazzled at this point in the race. But Pera, though, I mean, he knows that if he's able to keep the lead here, he's going to move on to the next match.
Yeah, and something Paul mentioned earlier is this is a live 1 versus 1. These aren't time trials where they have, the ability to restart the race over and over again. And so that is certainly a factor that these players have to keep in mind. But it would have been the opposite, in my opinion. Yogg should have been more prepared for this.
Yeah, I think so too, because I'm sure he has done an absolute ton of trials throughout all the qualifiers and the events. But I mean, in multiplayer, like you said, which this is, you don't get second chances. You can't just restart. And it really looks like that has come to haunt him a little bit in this race, as Pera is just barreling down the track, really not making any mistakes at all.
Yeah, this is a really clean run from Pera. Nice little double barrel roll and into the rail of the corner so he can keep his speed. One of the biggest mechanics of this game is wall riding. You can ride the wall basically and go around a corner without losing too much speed, because drifting does take up some of that speed, but it'll allow you to take that corner a bit better. And here we go, Pera coming in the third race, taking the victory for this best of 3.
That's insane. Pera taking a very clean victory there after Yogg again makes a couple of mistakes throughout the race. And so we have Pera as the winner of our first match here.
Yeah, again, something not expected. And we're going to have Paul come back and sort of break down what just happened, because Paul, Yogg Saron, what happened?
You ask like I should know. Gosh, no. Look, I think you guys said it best. Nobody saw that coming. So many wrecks, so many mistakes. I know there've been some issues with this vehicle and the physics, but those are just some raw mechanical errors. And I think it really came down to this idea that he was going for some of these riskier time trial elements that in a head-to-head, sometimes being a little more passive, a little bit more conservative really ends up paying off. And I mean, Ferrum, we saw it time and again. These mistakes really came back to haunt him. When he raced perfect, he was great, but when he wasn't, it was a bit of a mess.
They really did. I'm thinking that possibly he got used to being able to play multiple times in the events, and so he would get used to playing, more aggressively because of that, to get the best time possible. But when you're in multiplayer like this, you can't really do that. As we can see, he does that 360 a little bit too late, gets put out of bounds, and that does give Pera the early lead in this first race as we look at these highlights here.
Yeah, and as you can see, Yogg Saron was actually going for the riskier route in order to catch up, but as we all know, that didn't really pan out too well. But here, as we move on to the Shanghai highlights, this is where I thought Yogg Saron was pulling out a nice little move that we weren't expecting, but it didn't work. Pera had the lead, he kept the lead, and you could just see he was playing safe. And that's something I wanted to mention is Pera knew what routes to take, and he knew that he could execute them perfectly. Yogg Saron was going for a little bit of a riskier route for each track, and it just didn't end up paying off. Pera just kept everything clean. We had a couple of small battles here, like you saw right there. Yogg Saron took the lead, but Pera managed to get it back after some mistakes. And it's not necessarily about those small mistakes. It's about how you recover from those mistakes.
That's entirely true, and we have seen in some of the past ones where somebody wrecks and then completely comes back to win it later on. Unfortunately, though, Yogg Saron was unable to do that in these laps as he takes a barrel a little bit too low there. Again, these are places that are notoriously risky to do. If you do them well, you'll get a big speed boost and perhaps gain a lot of lead, but if you don't, it can really come back to haunt you, which is what we've seen time and time again throughout these races.
And I'm just going to jump in because, we're looking at this. Pera just looks so clean. I mean, I'm watching the races back, really focusing on his POV. And as much as I think we're a little bit surprised by Yogg Saron, I think we need to be celebrating Pera because, it really took Yogg Saron getting incredibly physical in that second race to sort of knock him off his groove. But Pera just seemed like he got locked in, felt comfortable. And, I think you said it, Marv, just, playing the more safe racing style that he needed to. And I just have to give so many props here to Pera, who, very much deserved, for him as we take a look back at the final moments, very much deserved the victory here in this best of three.
Oh, he definitely did. Pera is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with from now on. I mean, we've seen him use some of the newer tricks, such as the floaty drifting, 360 before turn in order to get a better drift speed around it. So, I mean, he's been kind of flying under the radar, but he is certainly not going to anymore, not after these races.
I could not agree more. Could not agree more. I'm excited to see Pera, who's, of course, moving on to our grand finals here for the iOS leaderboard. This one is going to be exciting, but of course, we've got a lot more action in store. We have Nerd Rides Bikes going up against the J next. That is going to be a ton of fun. We have to head to a short break, but when we come back, that race, so see in a few. Oh, wait, before I lied. Wait, hang on. Oh my gosh, I'm getting ahead of myself. We have an interview with Pera. Oh, right. I sat down with Pera earlier this week, and we need to hear from him before we go into this next race. Let's take a look. Hey, Pera. Thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. First and foremost, congratulations on making it here to the finals of the ESL Mobile Open. Talk to us a little bit about your journey in Asphalt. How did you make it here?
Pues bueno, primero, pues empezó como un juego, pues para distraerme, y la verdad es que me gustó bastante. Entonces, la verdad es que lo disfruté bastante, fui practicando más y pues me fui volviendo mejor, y claro que disfruté llegar hasta este punto.
Absolutely, and you just had a crazy close match up against Yogg Saron in the semifinals. Talk to us about what was going through your mind during that semifinal match, because it was so close, nothing was guaranteed.
Pues bueno, fue bastante, fueron bastantes nervios. La verdad es que conozco a él, y la verdad es que sé que es un buen jugador. Ya nos habíamos encontrado varias veces en el multijugador, y y la verdad sabía que iba a ser una carrera bastante difícil, pero pues creo que al final todo salió bien y pues nada, aquí estamos.
Yeah, no, it was put up a pretty crazy showing. I think the fans were definitely, enjoying every single moment of that. Either way, this has been a fantastic competition so far, and excited to see this final race. So thank you so much. Best of luck.
Muchas gracias.
I think I definitely spoke for everyone there, and I said all the fans were enjoying that one because it was serious. That second race in particular, will Yogg be able to make the comeback? And they were, but in the end, Pera advancing on to the grand finals. Now we're in the right spot as we're gonna head to a short break, and then we have our other semifinal matchup. Who will join Pera in the grand finals? We're gonna find out. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ESL Mobile Open. We're here for our ladder finals for ASPHALT 9 Legends. I'm Inverum, joined by Ferrum and Marf. That's a new face. Welcome back on the show. And Inverum and Ferrum back to, gosh, that's going to be fun to say all night long, as we're going to have quite a few more races in store for all you fine folks at home. As I don't want to keep y'all waiting too much longer. I want to take a look at this bracket because Ferrum, we already know our first finalist. Now we got to find out our second.
We do. We have the J and Nerd Rides Bikes. That's going to be tough to say. I might just refer to him as Nerd because that's one of the longest names I've seen here. The J and Nerd Rides Bikes. Yep, messing up there. The J has been one of the strongest competitors previously and in the qualifiers. So I think we can especially expect to see some strong showing from him. But who knows? With Pera, we've seen new faces can do great things. So we'll have to see what Nerd can do.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think for this one, really, it's going to be, can the J, again, sort of like Yogg in our first semifinal, can they continue to live up sort of to the expectations that we've sort of set for them here, or will the underdog come in and strike? That's what we're going to find out. It's Ferrum, Marf. Let's get into this next semifinal. I'll leave it all to you.
All right, so as we get into our first race with Nerd Rides Bikes and the J, we're on US Midwest again. This is the same track that we just saw Yogg Saran play and against Pera on, taking two different routes at the beginning. The J taking a slightly shorter route and getting ahead toward the beginning. Nerd Ride Bikes, I see, he was taking a little bit of, oh my goodness,
no,
he wrecks. He takes a bit of a safer route, but then wrecks going that way anyway, and the J just has a very strong lead now.
Absolutely, and I was very interested to see what the routes these players were going to take because we saw the risky routes players were taking in the last match. The J took that risky route. Nerd was taking a bit of a safer route. I was not expecting him to wreck because I thought he was playing safe, which could be a very viable strategy. But the J, we know his consistency, we know how good he is, and well, he just pulled ahead after the wreck. He is not looking back. He is barreling towards the next lap already, and this is just almost a done race at this point.
Oh, definitely. And if I know anything about the J, he's been very consistent throughout the whole time. He doesn't let his nerves get to him. So I think we're probably going to see maybe some more safe playing from the J because, I mean, he knows if he doesn't make mistakes, he's got this one in the bag. Nerd is the one who really has to either rely on the J making a mistake or just pull off some really crazy moves here. And he's got quite far behind at this point.
Yeah, and we even saw the J take that safe route that Nerd took in the first lap just to make sure the J doesn't wreck, doesn't give up this lead, doesn't give him anything to work with for Nerd here. And this is just not that great for Nerd. I'm really sorry to see him wreck there. I think he had a great run, a great strategy going in, but the J, again, I said it before, he is very, very concise about what routes he takes. He executes them perfectly. He doesn't mess up. And, well, that's just unfortunate for Nerd. I mean, it was a great start. They had their different strategies, and the J just pulls ahead there.
Yeah, it just didn't pay off for Nerd this time. But again, this is only the first out of 3. Anything could happen, as we've seen in the previous rounds. But this one, it looks like, is pretty much said and done as the J... Oh, the J wrecks right before the finish line, right before the ramp. But he got so far ahead that it is completely okay. He takes the victory in this race. Even with that wreck at the end, Nerd was still not on the map at all. That was crazy.
Yeah, one wreck in this game can mean such a huge deal. And the fact that the J made a wreck at the end and he brushed it off, it didn't even matter. That's how far ahead he was.
Yeah, he really was. And that's just crazy. I mean, he really played extremely well in that round, and I know we can expect to see that going forward in future rounds as we head into our second race here. So he's facing Nerd again, this time on Rome. The J uses that early nitro to maybe get that slight early lead ahead of Nerd Ride Spikes, but he gets a little bit toward the outside, but then passes on the inside. A lot of back and forth going on at the beginning right here.
Yeah, that shockwave was crucial for the J to take this early lead. We're going to see what route he goes. He doesn't opt to take that barrel roll. What is that? He just drives straight into the wall. I don't know what happened there. That is a very uncharacteristic mistake. We've been praising these legendary players such as the J and Yogg Saran, but all of a sudden they're making these mistakes on Rome.
Something happened to Nerd too. Something happened to Nerd too, I think. Wow, they both made mistakes really early on, and wow, Nerd is slightly ahead, but the J is catching up.
Yeah, these guys are neck and neck now. These mistakes have, I guess, evened themselves out. And so we'll see. Nerd takes a slightly longer route, but he manages to get that nitro. Actually breaks there, not utilizing the full shockwave so he could get it in the air. And he's going to take the safer route. The J is going to take a more riskier, but yet more airtime filled route. And as we can see, it pays off for him as they head into the second lap here. Nerd rides bikes. You know, he's a bit far behind, but again, these players are going so fast that one mistake can really close that distance at any time. But the J is handling this corner much better than Nerd Rides Bikes. He could have had, you know, saved up for the shockwave, but he just doesn't do it. And again, misses another shockwave there. I don't know what's up with the timing of these players with shockwaves, but again, shockwave is one of the most important aspects to this game. It really lets you get up to your full speed as quick as possible. The J almost went into the water there, but luckily he managed to save it.
Yeah, Jay has been saving a lot of potentially devastating plays throughout this run, taking that lead. Nerd Ride Bikes knew early on that he might have a chance against the J, but as we're into our second lap here, unless the J makes a fatal mistake, it does not look good for Nerd. The J opting to take the safer route this time, as he should, being ahead so far. Yeah, he's just way ahead at this point, like maybe 10 seconds. So he'd have to wreck a couple of times. Doesn't look like he's going to, and he crosses the finish line in first place for our first 2-0 of the day.
Yeah, and again, we saw the Jay take that safer route when he secured first place on the second lap. He knows he doesn't need to give anything up. He knows how well, if he uses that safe route, he's going to secure that first place.
Yeah, and now let's see what Paul has to say about this as we look at some of the highlights. That was something that we kind of expected.
I don't know if I expected it that strong. Yeah, let's take a look back, because the thing that really stood out to me is how much both of these players were wrecking, even today, not only just in this race. It's this vehicle, it's the nerves, it's a combination of factors, but players are having a bit of a struggle. As, the physics on that one, we've seen both of them wreck at some inopportune times. So really, I think the name of the game today is all about how these players deal with adversity, how they deal with wrecking, how they're able to reset their mental coming back into this. Because if these two opening races, firm or anything to go by, I think we're going to be seeing some pretty chaotic races.
Oh yeah, I think so too. And one thing that we've learned from these races is that even though the Jay and Nerd both made some mistakes, what really set them apart, I believe, is the Jay's ability to just not let it affect him. He was able to come back from them so well. I think that Nerd got some of his nerves frazzled a little bit and was unable to catch up, even playing some of the safer routes and everything. The Jay, though, wrecking early on Rome there, we didn't really expect that, but he was able to come back in a big way.
Yeah, that was a very big opportunity for Nerd to take that Rome match, but unfortunately he just couldn't quite pull it out. That was just some unexpected wrecks, like you mentioned earlier, but something that is so crucial, not only are the mistakes, but how you recover. And you can see here, the Jay knows exactly how to do so. As soon as he wrecks, he is right back on Nerd's tail, bumper to bumper. These players playing so close together, but the Jay just understands how to catch up very quickly and recover from his mistakes.
Yeah, the Jay just does not let his wrecks affect him at all. Even with the wreck earlier in the race, he goes the risky way again, which pays off for him. This is the kind of thing that we see from these players who go on to, win a lot of these matches. They don't let their mistakes get them down. And Nerd Rides Vice, unfortunately, I think he did a little bit.
Yeah, if you want to be a legend, you have to make legendary plays, and that's exactly what the Jay understands. Nerd, he's taking the safer routes. He's betting on the fact that the Jay is going to mess up. And they both do mess up, but the Jay is able to recover all of the time and make those risky plays to catch up.
Yeah, he really is, and the Nerd just wasn't able to quite as well.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's really standing out to me in all this is, again, the slight adaptations, going for the riskier route when you're behind, but adapting there at the end, saying, okay, I'm going to take the safer route once I'm ahead. I know I have that lead. I'm where I'm supposed to be. At this point, it's just not to make mistakes. That's what this is really all about. Maybe we can hear more about it with an interview with the Jay going into this finals. Let's take a look. Hey, the Jay, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. Congratulations on that semifinal victory. Took it calm, confident in 2-0. And given the way we've seen you race so far this season, that's not a big surprise. We've covered you a bunch of times on our shows over the last few weeks because you're constantly at the top of the leaderboard. How is it that you're able to consistently repeat these performances?
Well, honestly, I kind of don't look at myself as someone who's really that consistent. I've been described as not being that consistent in other terms. It's mostly been, I've been in the community for a couple of years. I've known a lot of the other people who have been competing in the ESL, especially in this region, in the past. Several of them you've seen before, and I've seen many of their laps. For a lot of us are friends. So, it's more of a just ask, for tips and whatnot. And I've just seen so many of their laps. And at some point, a lot of practice and a lot of knowledge, and sometimes you get lucky, and that's the goal with it is just, especially when there's only a few races, is just to do as well as you can and hope you get lucky sometime.
I'm gonna jump in because you're chronically selling yourself short on this one. There's not an accident that you've made it here, and there's not an accident that you 2-0'd in that race. But still, credit across the board because there are a lot of high-level racers in this field of competition. But now you're at a point where you are looking towards this sort of competition as a whole. And obviously, it's all about one-on-one competition. How is that different than doing time trials, having to deal with the fact that you're racing against another human being?
Well, there's a lot of factors. Many times, if you know that person, you could also know their driving style. When you're in a time trial, there's two different ways the time trial can go. There can be other AIs there, and you have to try figuring out the best way to navigate the AIs. Or in many of these ESL time trials, there's no AIs, and it's just going full out for the best route possible. In a multiplayer race, or especially in a one-on-one race, the goal isn't even necessarily to have the best time. It's to adjust to your opponent, try making sure they can't run you off the road if you feel that they may be given that opportunity. And if you have a big enough lead, there's no reason to risk it, especially with a car like this car, which is prone to some flips and some issues with the physics on some jumps, and you have to be careful with that. Different cars drive differently, and when you're doing a time trial, you don't necessarily have to be careful. You just go for the best possible in the multiplayer, and especially these events where it's a small sample size and a challenging car to drive at some point, you have to be careful to an extent, especially given the situation.
Absolutely. This car is blisteringly fast, so 1 second possibly getting out of control can cost you. Yeah, totally different mentality coming in. You're not racing against the computer this time. You just have to beat the other person you're up against. And you did. Congratulations again on that semi-final win. Best of luck. I mean, he keeps selling himself short. Well, I don't know about that. And he keeps qualifying everything. I'm like, nah, dude, you are looking absolutely incredible. And we'll see if he can maintain that performance going into the grand finals, because that's what's coming up next for our iOS leaderboard. 2 players who came in with incredibly strong performances, but also a few wrecks along the way. We'll see who can race just that little bit cleaner as we head to a short break. When we come back, our grand finals. Don't go anywhere.
to the ESL Mobile Open Asphalt 9 Finals. I am your host, Glitter Explosion, and of course, I'm joined by Firam and Marf. And today might be one of the wreckiest days of Asphalt 9 that I have ever seen in my life. So as we take a look back at our bracket to see what has happened here so far, I mean, Firam, you got to talk to me about that a little bit. You guys can see there that Pera and the J are going to be the ones going up against each other for our finals. Yogg does claim first, but it's just an aggressive day of races.
It really has been. And I mean, Pera and the J, I think it really comes down to them just being the most consistent out of the bunch. I mean, we have seen Rex and just going out from almost everybody, but they've really they've been able to come back from their mistakes in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, I was not expecting a demolition derby today, but that looks like what we're getting today, which, you know what, is kind of fun to watch.
All right, well, as I said, we saw Yogg there in third, and now we have to see which player will take home the grand prize, and I believe that matchup is about ready, so guys, take it away.
All right, so we are moving on to our final match of Android, or the first of 5 races in the final match, I should say. Pera versus the J, battling a lot on this first ramp here. It looks like Pera takes a very early lead, but the J is right behind him, catches up to him before this, goes off slightly lower, almost wrecks. Oh my goodness, Pera lands on him, knocks him down, but then Pera goes out of bounds. It's almost like they're back equal.
Oh my gosh. This is absolutely crazy. We've never seen anything like this. Players knocking down and then going out of bounds at the same time. Looks like the J is going to take a very wide route here. Pera is going to be hitting that wall, losing some speed. So the J has a bit of opportunity to catch some speed and keep up. No matter what happened during that first couple of seconds there, it has not mattered because these players are neck and neck heading into the final straightaway into our first lap, into the second lap. The J takes a triple barrel roll there. And as we head into this corner, we're going to see if those players have to fight again for that ramp, because that ramp gives you a lot of airspeed. It's very crucial for your beginning of this lap.
And they're pretty much back to where they were at the beginning of the first lap. This is insane. And
oh my gosh, another knockdown.
Wow, it's like the opposite of what happened on the first round. Now, if that's not karma, I don't know what is. The J takes the lead, and in the beginning of the second lap, Pera pretty far behind. I don't think we've seen deja vu like that before.
No, I don't think we have. This was really crazy to see. And the J, again, we've talked about him taking safer routes when he's, knows he can secure that victory. And that's exactly what's happening now. We don't see him going for anything too crazy. Pera's just a bit too far behind. And the J knows that he has a lot of opportunity to take this W for this first race here as he pulls into the finish line for our first race.
Yeah, he knows that as long as he just keeps playing the safe routes and everything, if he's ahead, he's good. And so he takes our first of 5 matches. So, if he wins the next 2, he wins it. If it goes 2-2, then we'll have all 5. That was just... I haven't seen a race like that before.
Yeah, it was pretty close for a majority of the time. It was really intense to see which player is going to take it. And again, we talked about the J's recoveries, and he was just doing fantastic recoveries there.
He really was. And the knockdowns back and forth, I think that is probably one of the funniest races that I've seen in the Mobile Open, just because of the back and forth constantly throughout it. It's just a fun track as well. So
absolutely,
I had a lot of fun with that one.
I was not expecting a demolition derby, like I said earlier, but to see one, well, it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of destruction. But again, those players, are they going to continue to pull out those victories as we head into our next race? We're going to have to see if the J can continue to extend his lead, and Pera is going to be battling for that first victory.
This time we are on Himalayas, a track we have not seen yet today. Pera versus the J. Again, the J getting that early lead, taking the first turn very sharply, but unfortunately hitting some of the cars. It doesn't seem to affect him too much though, as he does take and maintain the early lead. But Pera not too far behind, both of them doing the 360s in order to get up their nitro. But coming into a section where if you go off to the left too early, you might wreck a bit. Looks like both of them are playing this part pretty safe, though.
Yeah, we saw the J recover from almost a failed barrel roll, so he was very lucky in that he was managed to recover that. And these players, they're pretty close right now, and so at any moment we could see the J, just sort of give up a bit of a lead, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. Pera's ever so slightly keeping up with the J as we see him coming around the chicane and into one of the final ramps on this lap. And Pera hits the rock. That is not quite right. That is not going to lead him into a victory for this race, and the J is just going to pull ahead. Yeah, he's not looking back. He is going for it. And wow, I mean, lots of wrecks this time around. These players, I don't know if it's nerves or if they're just they're shaking. They're trembling.
I don't know what it is either. I was actually about to comment right before that wreck that Pera has actually been one of the most consistent ones we've seen so far. But then he wrecks there too. I think every single competitor so far has wrecked at least once. And I think you're entirely right. It probably has to do with some of the nerves and everything. But Pera, I mean, he is not letting it get to him. He's been playing very well throughout this. But unfortunately, he will have to rely on the J making some kind of mistake if he wants to have a chance to catch up. And since they're coming up toward the end of the race here, not much chance for that left.
Yeah, no, Pera can do nothing. It is all for nothing. The J is going to take this second victory here. Probably going to make it 2-0 here in a couple of seconds as he comes around to the final jump of the second lap. And it was just such a shame. That one wreck really just kept it going for the J. And here he is.
Really did. And Pera, I noticed that he was very careful on the second lap to go lower on that ramp that... Actually, he went too high on the first lap, and I believe that's why he wrecked there. But, I mean, as you can see, a lot of the time, a single wreck can really change the course of things.
Yeah, and only a single wreck is some of the work that we're expecting from these players, because in those previous races, lots of wrecks, stuff we weren't expecting, lots of mistakes being made. So this one wreck deciding the whole race is more in line with what we're used to, because these players know these tracks like the back of their hand.
It definitely is. And I think as they get more used to the multiplayer setting that they're in, as they play more and more races, we'll probably start to see less wrecks, I would assume, as they get really into the swing of things here, because they're probably just used to the events.
Yeah, and we'll also see probably some new strategies, because again, they're right next to each other. They're not just by themselves. They can restart anytime. No, this is one shot. So they're going to try and pull some riskier moves. And we're going to go to our third race in this series. And hopefully the J, he's going to be looking to get this sweep with the 0-3. Pera, he needs to get his first win on the board in order to have a chance to win this best of 5.
Because the J has gotten 2 wins so far, which is absolutely crazy.
Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness. Pera, he gets knocked down. The J seems to have this lead right here. I mean, we might really see a full sweep here. Pera doing very well against Yogg Saran. Unfortunately, not doing so well against the J. I think some of it was probably bad luck, but the J knows at this point, if he just plays safe, again, as he seems to do whenever he's in first like this, he's really got it in the bag.
Yeah, and we saw the J actually take a longer route right after that knockdown or wreck there. So that allows Pera to keep at least somewhat of a realistic, chance in catching up. But again, it all comes down to how well the J handles this next lap. And keep in mind, when they go onto the second lap, they're coming at it in full speed. They're not starting from zero. So they kind of have to take some of these first corners a bit differently than they normally would. But it's something that the J clearly, as you can see, is really prepared for.
Oh, yeah. And that's another thing that you mentioned about the 2 laps. The qualifiers, they were only 1 lap apiece. So now that we have 2 laps, that's yet another difference.
Whoa.
The J doing a crazy stunt there. Don't know what happened. Doesn't wreck with it, though. So he's still maintaining a pretty hefty lead here.
Yeah, he's more than a couple of seconds ahead of Pera, and so we're looking at probably multiple wrecks. The J looks like he's about to take a different route. We'll have to see what's going on, but Pera does have a bit of an opportunity. Yeah, he's going down the train yard. That is not the quickest route you can take, so Pera, it doesn't look like it'll mean much at the end of the day, but it could have been if the J didn't know how to handle it properly. We've talked about his recoveries, and this is a good recovery. He has managed to keep this lead, and he is going to take the sweep 0-3. The J is the winner for our iOS bracket.
That was crazy. Even though the J did run into some trouble toward the end of that second lap there, I mean, he went a wrong route because he went off a bit too early. And now let's see what Glitter has to say about this. I mean, this has been quite the match. We saw a full sweep here.
Okay, we saw the full sweep, but also more wrecks. Watching players have to recover from these things. I mean, the entire experience today was so different than what we typically see, and it made it that much more entertaining for us to watch and to experience, right? I mean, not only did we watch the J dominate, but Pera, we have to give so much love to Pera. New name on our leaderboards, new name to the Mobile Open, and he is just doing phenomenally.
He has been. Pera is probably one of the most skilled players that we've seen in ESL that we haven't, or that we've seen in the Mobile Open, that we have not seen in a previous season. I mean, unless he is under a different name, we haven't seen him before. He was putting up some amazingly close races against some of the real legends of the Mobile Open. The J, Yogg, not really letting his nerves get to him in any of them. Unfortunately, in these final races here, the J was able to take it due to some knockdowns, a little bit of luck, but a lot of skill from both players.
Yeah, look, Pera came out swinging. He had a lot of great talent here, as we've seen. And just to make it to the grand finals on your first appearance is a great note. Again, unfortunately, it didn't quite work out due to some wrecks. But man, I think this is something he can go home with and say, you know what, this is a great start. And honestly, I would love to see him back because, again, straight to the grand finals, first appearance, that is not something to scoff at.
No, it certainly is not. He's played extremely well, even with that one wreck there. I mean, he was very consistent all the way throughout it. I would love to see him back again, too, because he's played extremely well for a new player. Seems like he knows a lot of the tricks and routes. And I mean, he beat Yogg. He almost beat the J multiple times. That is absolutely something to be proud of.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I'm just going to jump in here because you guys are making so many good points, but I couldn't agree any more. I mean, the fact that, you know, it's his first time here and he makes the finals, that's massive for any competitor in any scene. That is huge. So definitely somebody we're going to be keeping our eyes on here in the Mobile Open. But I mean, we even heard in that interview that Jay kind of underselling himself a little bit there with Enviram, and now we watch him win the finals for iOS with a sweep. I mean, I think he's gonna have to start selling himself short here now, huh, guys?
Yeah, he definitely has been. And I mean, these races have shown that he can definitely do extremely well. He can come back from mistakes like almost no one else that I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. That mistake recovery ability, that is probably the most prominent feature we can talk about with the Jays playing style. Again, that really made the difference with him taking the grand finals in a 0-3 sweep.
And I mean, speaking of the J, obviously as our winner, we've got to check back in with him, and Enviram did just that. So let's take a look.
Hey, the J, welcome back and congratulations. You are our ESL Mobile Open champion for ASPHALT 9 Legends. You did it with a clean sweep, not dropping a single race all night long. Talked to you before about consistency, and at this point, I think you've proved when push comes to shove, you certainly can deliver. Talk to us about what was going through your mind during that last match when you were up 2-0 and you knew you only had to win one more race to claim the whole thing.
Well, after you get the first two races, I did get a bit lucky with, you know, how some of it turned out. Opponents, you know, had a bit of issues with the physics and whatnot. Credit to them. Sometimes this happens. I was kind of just focused on being as safe as possible. Even up 2-0, I was just focused on being as safe as possible, not wrecking. I've had past experience with this. I have wrecked before. I know exactly how that goes. It happens a lot in the time trials, and every time limited event, and a lot of times in multiplayer where you feel like you have an insurmountable lead, and then all of a sudden it's gone in the blink of an eye. And even though it's 2-0, 3 races is still a small sample size. It's very possible to lose 3 straight. So it was mostly just, you know, steady hands, be calm, and don't like move my arms until it's over, and then relax, just rigid shoulders, and that was it.
Easy. And yeah, again, you did it clean in style. It seems like you're definitely more of that defensive driver, I guess, in the situation. When you're in the head-to-head, it's as much about not wrecking as it is about beating your opponent, which I think really paid off for you here. But just having that bit of a safer race really, you know, allowed you to get it through pretty much, again, unscathed in the entire competition, which is fantastic. I also appreciate just how great of a performance you put on here. So congratulations once again. Do you have any shout-outs before we say goodbye?
Everyone that deserves a shout out I've already told, so they know.
They know. Look, they got it. You got it. You got that championship. So thanks so much, and best of luck in the future.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, that was fantastic to be able to hear from the J there and in Virum. I mean, very, very well-deserved win. But guys, this is only half of our day, okay? We still have an entire Android leaderboard to go through. So we're going to be sending it to a quick break. But when we come back, we'll be jumping into our first semis for the Android leaderboard. Don't go anywhere.
Ready for it.
And welcome back to the ESL Mobile Open Asphalt 9 Finals. I'm your host, Glitter Explosion, joined, of course, by Firum and Marf. Now, if you guys are just joining us, we just wrapped up our iOS side of things, so let's take a quick look back at that leaderboard so you can play catch-up if you need to. Of course, massive congratulations to the J for pulling down the win there. I mean, that was a very, very well-deserved win. Pera there in second place and Yogg pulling in third. But now it is time for us to move on to Android. And if iOS is any indication, Firum, things are going to be a little bit crazy here.
Oh yeah, I mean, the iOS was some of the most demolition derby kind of racing we've seen in the Mobile Open so far. We'll have to see if Android goes the same way. We've got Pickle, Daniver, Proud Papa, and Diesel Dragon. We have seen so many of these names in the recaps, and I think we're going to see a lot of strong racing today.
Yeah, I mean, especially Proud Papa, I'm looking to him to try and get one of the first place victories here because it's a name we've definitely seen for a very long time. Some of these players, like you've mentioned, they've been here, and we've also seen some new faces. So again, quite similar to iOS, we'll see how this new blood of Asphalt 9 can battle against the legends.
Yeah, hopefully it'll keep things interesting, but I believe our first matchup is actually ready to go, and I'm excited to see how our first semis game goes. So take it away, guys.
All right, so we're moving into our first race of the first match, A9UF Pickle versus Diesel Dragon on the US Midwest, a track that has caused a lot of trouble for some of the other players in the past. Both of them take the shorter route at the beginning, maybe slightly a riskier route. Pickle doesn't go up the barrel. It pays off for him too. Daniver goes up the barrel. Fortunately, does not work out for him. I mean, that barrel right there is one that I actually don't go up very often just because of how many times that exact same thing has happened to me there.
Yeah, you have to be pixel perfect with your maneuverability in that specific area. And again, like you said, it's a very risky move. Again, something I don't also go for. So it's interesting to see these players are really pulling out all stops. They really want to try and get those risky moves. It doesn't pay off for Daniver. Pickle takes a huge lead. And again, one wreck could have decided this whole match, and we'll see in the second lap if Daniver has anything to say about it, or if Pickle manages to make some big mistakes. But again, one wreck, huge consequences, and we saw it there with Pickle taking a very large lead going into this second lap.
Definitely, but I would say that probably they are still only maybe one mistake away. It looks like, though, that Pickle is pulling even further and further ahead. He's not even on the map anymore. Again, taking the route that's the shorter one, but still not doing the barrel. It looks like Daniver takes a slightly longer route. It looks like he didn't want to do the same thing he did the first time, and it pays off for him. He does not wreck this time, and is he actually catching up to Pickle a little bit? I almost feel like he is.
Yeah, it does look like he is gaining some time right behind Pickle here. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be at a brisk enough pace in order to catch him by the end of the lap. But that decision to take the safe route was very interesting by Daniver. It's not something that would gain you a lot of time. You do avoid that wreck, but at this point, you really have to be able to pull out all of those risks in order to catch up. And I guess Daniver wasn't willing to go for that, which is respectable. But still, Pickle, he's going to keep this lead into our first track here. He's going to take the first point, and unfortunately Daniver's he doesn't have anything to say about this. Pickle is going to take the victory here in our first match.
Yeah, Pickle played fairly safe, I would say, throughout this race. It paid off for him in this case. He didn't really go for any super risky strats. Like, I'd say he went kind of middle. Like, he took some shorter routes, didn't go for anything that was majorly risky, and it really paid off for him this time.
Yeah, he played the percentages game. It paid off really well. He executed his routes perfectly, and unfortunately, Daniver just couldn't keep up after that wreck.
Yeah, so let's move on to our next race and see if Daniver is able to come back and tie this one up, or maybe we'll see another sweep here. Daniver does get slightly ahead in the beginning, and he takes a very good line, is able to keep Pickle from passing him, which is very important on that first turn there. But I'm really interested to see how they will take this next section, which is infamous for wrecking a lot of the time. They both are able to take that ramp, and they both get that barrel there. That is very unusual to see both players get such an unlikely occurrence.
I thought Daniver was going to go straight over Pickle there, but it looks like Pickle was able to just pull slightly ahead. He's not going to go for this wall ride, and that gives him a slight advantage. What is that, a 360? That could have been a bit of a dirty move or an accident, but these players are still neck and neck. Some 360 in order to get that corner a bit quicker there. As you know, if you do a 360 in the opposite direction, you do get a slightly faster drifting speed, and they're going for the risky route here, Furum. This is going to be interesting to see if anyone messes up. This is going to be close.
It doesn't look like either of them mess up. They both know this route very well. Pickle just slightly ahead. I was wondering a little bit back there, if some of those 360s were not intended to try to 360 another player and only look like they were trying to get around the turn. But yeah, I think the second one especially, the floaty drifting, which is very good on this track here. Around a lot of the turns, it helps a lot. And again, they're both able to take this ramp. Pickle and Daniver both being very consistent as Daniver hits the wall. And then Pickle wrecks.
Wow,
well,
one mistake after another.
Yeah,
one mistake right after another, and unfortunately, Pickle, he got the short end of the stick with a wreck instead of just a short little mistake, and Daniver is going to reverse this lead. He's taken the pole position. He is going into the last section of this second lap in the lead, and it looks like he's going to take the safer route as well. A good decision. He's not going to wreck, most likely, going this safer route. Pickle's going to have to use this riskier route, but he doesn't have a lot of nitro to get that airspeed here. And Daniver, he is very close to taking this second match here for our semifinals.
Yeah, Daniver pulls ahead there to tie it up. On the first time, Daniver wrecked, allowed Pickle to win. this time Pickle wrecked. It allowed Daniver to win. So again, the wrecks in this matchup are really making the difference here. Both players though played very well. I would say that they were both fairly consistent on an even skill level.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get into our next race here, we're going to have to see if the consistency can be stepped up.
Definitely. So we are tied up. So this one will make the difference here. Daniver getting that early lead. He wants to see himself ahead of Pickle back there. And it looks like he is beginning to extend it. Pickle, though, saving up for that shockwave, taking the slightly faster route in some cars over to the left, and quite nearly catching up to Daniver, almost being able to land on him. Not quite, though. Daniver still has the lead, not by too much. Oh, and the 360s. They didn't get each other, though, so this is going to still be a close one. I was afraid of a wreck there, or a knockdown.
Yeah, these players were bumper to bumper. I was quite honestly expecting a wreck, as you said there, but nothing happened. I think these players are very lucky, and they know it, so they're going to take every advantage they can get. We see Pickle coming around this second bend here, going into the ramp with perfect nitro. Pickle only gets one barrel roll, so Daniver's going to have a bit of extra nitro, but he makes up for it by drifting. And so as they head onto this straightaway here, looks like Daniver's not going to opt for the 360s. This is going to allow him to catch up ever so slightly, and these positions haven't changed. They're bumper to bumper. They are so close. Anything could make a small difference, and it looks like Pickle, he's going to take a slight lead as we go into our second lap here.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the time, the Shanghai races in this Mobile Open have been all very close. It's a track that doesn't really have a lot of areas that are really risky, where you could make a big mistake. So I would say this track, Pearl of the Orient, really a lot of the time comes down to the technical skills of each of the players. Just knowing when to shockwave, how to take the turns well. And as we can see, they both are doing quite well. Pickle, though, maintaining a slight lead as they take this turn. He is not, neither of them is actually able to shockwave.
Yeah, this is going to keep the positions relatively close. Pickle does get a bit of a better lead here as we head into our last section. But yeah, as you said, it's not the most complicated track, so perfection is what we are looking for, and it looks like Pickle is going to slightly edge Daniver out as he takes this victory.
He sure does. I mean, that was a really close one. A great final match after two where a wreck decided it. This one was decided completely by skill. And so now let's go back to Glitter. Let's see what she thinks about it. I mean, these races were, super close.
Yeah, to say the least. Are you kidding me? I mean, you guys were talking about it. You get a wreck in the first one that gives Pickle the win, a wreck in the second one that gives Daniver the win, and then it comes down to the third, and the 360, it was almost like the disrespectful 360 on behalf of Pickle to get past Daniver and then maintain that lead while Daniver was on their tail the entire rest of the race. I mean, it doesn't get any closer than that.
It really does not, and we can see throughout these races, again, just those little mistakes, or big mistakes in case of the wrecks, really turned the tides here. Both players, though, playing extremely well. I think I know we've seen Pickle before, not sure if we've seen Daniver before, but I can tell that they both know these tracks very well, almost like the back of their hand.
Yeah, in order to reach this point, you do need to know every track as well as you can, as really any of these legendary players have. So you have to be able to catch up with them, and that's exactly what Daniver has done, only for the fact that in this, head-on-head situation, it looks like Pickle was able to take that small little victory and just slightly edge out Daniver in his skill. And so again, it could be this situation where the nerves are sort of peaking and you don't know exactly if you should change up your route in order to accommodate for the fact that there's another player with you. Again, there we see that 360. That could have been a wreck or a knockdown.
Yeah, it really could have. Thankfully, though, or maybe not thankfully, I don't know, it made for a really interesting final race, but it did not turn into a knockdown. I would say this is probably one of the closest matches we have seen so far, just back and forth all the way throughout. They even have the exact same decal on, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, these were some great races, but Pickle is able to pull it out in the very final race here, which was one of the closest one we've seen so far.
Yeah, almost a mirror image in terms of routes, except for those small differences that Pickle took that gave him that advantage and allowed him to take the victory over Daniver. And again, on that Shanghai track, it's all about perfectionism. You need to execute every corner perfectly. There's not a lot of room for mistakes. And unfortunately, Daniver he made a bit too many. It was close though. It was really close. And I'm glad that we're seeing this sort of match, because that Demolition Derby, while it's very fun to see, it's not the closest matches as we saw with the iOS bracket.
You know, I think oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that Android will probably see maybe a lot more like skill-based, really clean races than iOS, it seems like.
Yeah, I think this might be my favorite race today so far, because we did get a little bit of like the crazy aggression with the wrecks, or even just trying to kind of push each other out of their route. But also, like you were saying, Firam, had really, really clean, mechanically clean races. So, I mean, super enjoyable to watch. It's going to be interesting to see how Pickle continues now through the rest of the bracket. But speaking of Pickle, and Viram actually had a chance to sit down with our winner of this first semis match as well. So let's take a look.
Hey, Pickle. Thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. Congratulations on that semifinal win. It was a close one, but you were able to make it out on top, so congrats for that. Talk to us a little bit about what it was like to make it here to the finals, just as a whole, and now advancing on to the grand finals.
It's been insane. Like, I came into this ESL not really even thinking I could qualify, just trying to do it for fun, you know, grind out the races, see how it goes. And by some miracle, I qualified in the very first round. That was insane. And then not only to make it here, but to make it to the finals, that's crazy. I couldn't have asked for much more.
I mean, you know, I can see by the posters on the wall behind you that you're clearly someone who's into cars inside and outside of the game. Talk to us a little bit about your history with Asphalt that led you here.
Yeah, so I started playing Asphalt back in like 2013 in Asphalt 8. Back then I was just like, you know, casual. I think I only played it for a few years and then stopped. And then a few years later when Asphalt 9 came out, then I started playing that. I think I joined a few months late, but still playing that relatively casually. And then only in the past year I started getting more serious about it and training hard. You know, like joining a better club and starting YouTube channels, stuff like that. Yeah, I'm happy it's got me this far.
I mean, talk to me a little bit more about that. Like, what is your training process like? Is it really all about analyzing the best routes, comparing times? Is it about the tricks? Talk to us a little bit about how you just actually get better at the game.
Yeah, you know, this game has a lot of intricacies that you have to be aware of. You know, there's just the basics, like, you know, knowing the route, knowing how to use nitro and ramps, and then there's all these smaller speed checks, little optimizations. Usually you can find this by looking at reference routes and talking with other people about it. Eventually you'll just kind of have that instinct where you don't really need to look at references so much anymore. You'll just kind of know what to do, and it'll be, it'll just be instinct for you. So you just gotta keep practicing over and over again until you get to that point where you know what to do in every situation.
Absolutely. And again, that instinct is what allows you to react when you're in these actual head-to-head races in a moment like this, where the training really kicks in and it just comes down to being able to execute it in the moment, which is always so fantastic to watch. And it's been fantastic to watch, you know, you race this season and here in the finals. So I have to say, thanks so much for sitting down and talking with me, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Love being able to check in with Pickle there. It's super awesome to hear how he preps for this type of event, because like you guys have said a couple times now while you're casting, this is obviously very different than the time trials, and you're going in a head-to-head situation, so you need to be able to know everything so well that you can react well in those scenarios if somebody is trying to knock you out of the way. And we're going to see if that continues throughout the rest of our Android bracket. It's time for us to actually kick it to a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be jumping into our second semifinals match of our Android bracket, so don't go anywhere. welcome back to the ESL Mobile Open Asphalt 9 Finals. I am your host, Glitter Explosion, and of course, I am joined by our amazing casters, Furum and Marv, who have been absolutely smashing it all day. By the way, guys, doing great so far. We're about to get into our second semifinals match for our Android bracket, but we'll catch you guys up on how the action's gone so far. Pickle able to just barely squeeze out the win over Daniver, so now we're going to be seeing who will be going up against Daniver for that third place match and who will be going up against Pickle for our grand finals. Furum, this should be interesting.
It should be. I mean, based on what we've seen so far, that was some of the closest matches so far. And I don't suspect that Proud Papa versus Diesel Dragon is going to be any different. I recognize a lot of these names. I've seen how they play. They are all very skilled.
Yeah, Proud Papa, a name we've definitely seen in the past. So we'll see if he can keep some consistency going, get into that final. And again, this is going to be a very interesting bracket.
Well, I am excited to jump into all the action, and our next matchup is ready. I'm so excited I can't even talk. Guys, take it away.
All right, so we are now moving on to our first race between Proud Papa and Diesel Dragon. A couple of players who we've seen before in the qualifiers. Let's see how they do against each other. So Diesel Dragon taking the barrel, Proud Papa not taking it. He goes for the risky barrel. It works, but barely. He almost wrecks there, but it's paid off for him this time as he's getting a slight lead ahead of Proud Papa toward the beginning of the race.
Yeah, this is pretty similar in terms of routes, but yeah, Diesel Dragon managing to keep out this quick little lead in the beginning, and he's going to have to maintain it. I mean, that really is what it comes down to. So this section here, it's a very much about keeping your airspeed as much as possible. So you'll see these players, as they come around the bend, they're going to shockwave very early to jump off this little sort of ramp in the hill, and then keep with the barrel rolls, getting as much airspeed as possible, and then sort of wall ride here. But actually, Diesel Dragon opts to drift instead, getting some nitro, saving for the shockwave. That was a very smart move there.
Yeah, it really was. Diesel Dragon is not letting anyone get by him. He is just playing really well here. Proud Papa has got to do some crazy playing, some risky strats maybe in order to catch up, because I don't see Diesel Dragon letting this go, and Diesel Dragon taking the safer route, just going down below, not going up the spin there, which sometimes can spin you too far into the wall. Proud Papa, thankfully though, it doesn't happen to him, but Diesel Dragon is just getting slightly further and further ahead throughout the race.
Yeah, I do have to say, Proud Papa took one of the corners back there in the beginning of the second lap a bit wide, so this lead has still not been closed. And Diesel Dragon, he is speeding all the way up into this cave. He is not backing down. He is pushing the pedal to the metal. He is not letting down. And so Proud Papa, I don't know if at this point he can really take it back unless Diesel Dragon seriously messes up.
That's for sure. Diesel Dragon has shown so far in this race that he does not let up. Like some of the players in the past we've seen, once they get a substantial lead, they might, go a bit safer, not do as much stuff. Diesel Dragon not letting up at all. He knows because he is less than a wreck away. I mean, if he wrecks at this point, Proud Papa could very likely pass him. Thankfully, he does not though. Doesn't even take any barrels at the end to be as safe as possible. And Diesel Dragon takes our first match here.
Yeah, very clean racing, although despite those small little differences, Diesel Dragon still takes it in the end with that very safe maneuver, not to mess up, not to give any room to Proud Papa.
All right, and now let's take a look at our second matchup between the two. This is going to be really interesting. We've seen what Diesel Dragon, what Proud Papa can do. Proud Papa getting that early lead there just so he can be ahead of Diesel Dragon. He doesn't want to be behind the entire race again. And now he knows what he has to do to stay ahead of Diesel Dragon. He has to pull out all the punches. And I'm always super interested this section here. How will they go? They both go the same route, and Diesel Dragon goes a bit too high and misses the ramp there. Proud Papa, he's taking the slightly faster route and pulls ahead still of Diesel Dragon. This is going to be a really interesting one. Can Diesel Dragon catch up?
Yeah, that missed ramp causes so much of a lead for Proud Papa. He doesn't allow Diesel Dragon, or at least Diesel Dragon didn't get a lot of airspeed there. So we're going to have to see how these players take this little section here. We know the riskier route looks like Proud Papa's going for it. Diesel Dragon as well going for a risky route. He has the shockwave though, so it looks like he's closing this gap. He is gaining a lot of speed on Proud Papa. It really comes down to this big wide corner in the second lap, how these players are going to sort of determine this second lap. If Proud Papa goes too wide or anything like that, he's going to opt for a very sharp turn with perfect nitro. Diesel Dragon saving up for Shockwave. Looks like he's still able to catch up and maintain that small little gap. But Proud Papa, at any time, one mistake could really give up that lead. So he's going to have to play pretty perfectly in the second lap.
It really could. They're still within distance of each other. Diesel Dragon catching up ever so slightly throughout it. They're taking very similar routes. That's one thing that I've noticed, not really changing much there. And Proud Papa pulling slightly ahead. We'll have to see how they take the section at the end of this lap on the second lap. On the first lap, I should say, they both took the riskier strat. This time, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some people go the safer route, and no, it does not happen. They both still go the longer route. Diesel Dragon maybe taking it slightly better, doesn't do a 360. Proud Papa, though, just barely is able to stay ahead to take the victory in this race. So now it's 1-1.
That was probably some of the cleanest, closest race we have seen in a very, very long time. I didn't know at the end, Diesel Dragon could have caught up. He could have taken just a bit more speed and passed.
He really could have. And I mean, now we have to see what will happen in the final race. We've got one win for Proud Papa, one win for Diesel Dragon. Now let's see how they do when they compete against each other on Pearl of the Orient, which has been known to, at least in this season, make for some very, very close matches. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see the same thing here, taking different strategies at the beginning of the race. Diesel Dragon saving it for Shockwave, as he likes to do. Proud Papa, not so much. They're right on their tails here, going up the ramp almost the exact same time. Proud Papa, though, with a slight lead early on in the lap.
Yeah, these players are really side by side right now. The routes were pretty similar. Again, like I mentioned earlier, this is a route where, or at least a track where perfection is the name of the game. The route is pretty well known to most players now at this point. So every little tiny nuanced detail that you can perfect is going to give you that edge and that extra bit of airspeed. And that's exactly what we've seen a bit with Proud Papa, although Diesel Dragon is not far behind whatsoever as they come into the last stretch of this first lap. It could really be anyone's game at this point.
It really could, as we've seen in previous matches on this track, whether or not you 360 or go straight or Shockwave could really make a big difference. Proud Papa, though, keeping that lead. He does not show any signs of slowing down at all. Dare I say Diesel Dragon is catching up, though? He is. Yeah. He has the Shockwave, and he he lands on top of Proud Papa, doesn't knock him down, though. This is shaping up to be one of the closest races we've seen so far.
Yeah, that could have been disaster. Oh my gosh, they're bumping yet again. They're both shockwaving. This is one of the closest races I've ever seen for the Mobile Open, and they're still neck and neck. Despite that little 360 there by Diesel Dragon, they are still right behind one each other. And oh my gosh, these next couple of sort of corners here, that's going to make or break this race. And looks like Proud Papa does get a bit of a tiny lead, but at any moment, despite what these players do, that lead could be crushed at any second.
It could be, and there have been so many times throughout this race when I thought one of them was going to get a knockdown on the other, but the cars have just been tanks in this race, as we see one of our closest finishes yet, and Proud Papa takes it. Wow, that previous match was close. I think this one might have been even closer. That was insane.
Wow, that was a photo finish. That was really close. That was great. So, man, why don't you take it for this one?
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely crazy. I mean, let's see what Glitter has to say about these races. I mean, wouldn't you say these have been the closest ones so far? I mean, even coming from the previous one.
Oh. Okay, we didn't think it could get any closer. And that, I think, was the most stressed I have ever been watching an Asphalt 9 match. The entire last round, all I could see was Diesel Dragon just having Proud Papa right in his sights for the entire. That has to be so heartbreaking. But like, congratulations to Proud Papa, because that was a very, very intense back and forth on behalf of both of our competitors. I mean, impressive gameplay. That was fantastic, honestly.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, after Diesel Dragon winning the first one, he probably was pretty confident, but then Proud Papa came back to win 2 in a row, both in very close matches. The players were very close all around. We didn't see too many mistakes, I noticed, in these ones. Both players were playing quite well. One of them did miss the ramp on Rome a couple of times, but overall, I would say extremely clean racing. Probably one of the least wreck-prone matches we've seen so far.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most clean series we've seen, and a very, very hard-fought season or series on the side of Diesel Dragon. It was close, but at the end of the day, those nuanced little tiny details that separated him from Proud Papa. But again, it was such a well-fought series from Dragon.
It really was. This has got to be my favorite one so far. I mean, these players just going back and forth like nothing else. And man, this is some of the best racing we've seen so far today for sure. Just watching these replays back, you're completely right, Glitter. My heart was pounding too during this last race.
I think the real question is, can it get any better than this? Because we watched the first semis for Android and we were already impressed, not only with how close the back and forth was, but how impressive just, the mechanical level of skilled racing was. I feel like that's been leveled up yet another notch with this next semis between Proud Papa and Diesel Dragon. So now moving forward, I mean, we still have a third place match. We still have a grand finals. They have a lot to live up to right now.
Yeah, we still have 2 whole matches left, and I'm really curious to see if they will hold up to just the sheer entertainment value of these first 2 here. They've been crazy close, and I can't wait to see what these players will be able to do.
What about you, Mark? What are you looking forward to?
These clean races have been crispy, and I'm expecting these next couple of matches to be just as crispy, so we'll have to wait and see.
Well,
I
believe... Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's a perfect analogy. I mean, it really is. I can't wait to see them either.
Well, we're going to have to get into it as quickly as we possibly can. But before we do that, Envirum did get a chance to speak with our winner, Proud Papa, and I'm very excited to see what he had to say.
Hey, Proud Papa. Thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. Congratulations on that semifinal victory. It was a close race, but you ended up coming out on top. Tell us a little bit about what was going through your mind as you're in the point in that race. You're looking at that game number 3. Talk to us about that.
It was pretty intense. I mean, Diesel Dragon he's tough, man. And that was back and forth. We had a few bumps, close calls. I just tried to do anything to stay in front of him. Fortunately, I did. I think each race was so close, and that last one just was great.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic competition. And obviously, you're no stranger to competition. You've been here before. You've been competing in our program for a long time now. Talk to us a little bit about how it's been competing in the program as a whole, and specifically this season, making it to the finals.
It's always tough to get there. But I think last season we mentioned something about, getting new people in and all that. And we had 2 new faces this time, which was great. They both put up good performances. Can't say enough. I mean, you just join and practice and you can get here.
Absolutely. And now you're staring down the barrel of the grand finals, so I'm not going to keep you. Obviously, best of luck.
All right, really nice to hear from Proud Papa. It's going to be exciting to see what he can do throughout the rest of our bracket. We've got some more matches coming up, of course, but before we jump into those, we're going to be sending you guys to another quick break. But when we come back, our 3rd place match for Android. Don't go anywhere.
Think
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ESL Mobile Open Finals here for ASPHALT 9. I'm Inverum, joined by Firum and Marf. And whoa, boy, we just witnessed a couple of stellar semifinal matches. Crazy back and forth, razor sharp finishes, and we still got two full matches. We got a lot more action in store for everybody here. Firum, let's take a look at this bracket. Honestly, this could have been any other permutation of this results. This could have gone any way.
It really could have been. These players were all extremely skilled, and since these were some of the closest matches we've seen so far, really any little difference in a wreck or not wrecking or taking a slightly little route difference, we could have a completely different bracket, but we come to Pickle and Proud Papa in the end here. But first of all, we got our third place match.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't really want to keep the fans waiting any longer. They don't need to hear from me. They need to hear from you guys. So let's get into our third place matchup. It's Daniver and Diesel Dragon. Getting into it here. I'll leave it to you.
Daniver and Diesel Dragon, their first match is going to be on the Caribbean, one of which has had some interesting things happen previously on it. Daniver does not take the barrel at the beginning. I don't think either of them do. Diesel Dragon getting a little bit of physics there at the beginning. He's able to recover from it though, but Daniver looks to take the early lead in this race.
Yeah, some small differences there in the beginning, and it looks like Daniver misses that jump. That is going to be extremely crucial. Diesel Dragon gets an insane amount of airspeed, and he is going to take a very sizable lead. Now, it's not too big, as we've seen with some previous races, so Daniver still has a big opportunity to close this gap within the next couple of jumps here. But, and he misses the shockwave. That is going to hurt a bit as well as they come into the sort of cliffside cave here. Diesel Dragon's going to shockwave out, and he's not going to take that barrel roll. He's going to play it safe. He knows he has the lead. Daniver has to take that barrel roll in order to get some more nitro and some airspeed. So it just really comes down to how these players, especially with this second lap in the beginning, how they take these jumps and twists and turns.
Yeah, Diesel Dragon is just going to keep taking safe routes throughout the rest, I can absolutely tell you. And that first mix-up toward the beginning with Daniver missing his jump and going underneath, that really lost him a good chunk of time. And I think that, even though it wasn't a wreck, it probably will be the decider of this race here.
Yeah, these players are so great at executing these routes perfectly. And because of that, that one small mistake, that can cost everything. And as we've seen with Daniver, that's just what happened. Diesel Dragon, he's going to be pretty far ahead. It looks like Daniver has somewhat closed this gap, but it's nearing the end of this second lap. Diesel Dragon is poised to take this first race.
Yeah, I don't think there's much that Daniver is going to be able to do here as Diesel Dragon goes up the final ramp and crosses the finish line in first place. With Daniver, though, not too far behind. I would say all around pretty good race, with just that small mistake from Daniver going under the bridge really making the difference here.
Yeah, small mistake, big consequence, and as a result, Diesel Dragon takes that first race. So we're going to head pretty quickly here into our second race. And again, this is a best of 3, so the reverse sweep is possible.
It definitely is. If Diesel Dragon gets this one, he's got the 2-0, but Daniver could very easily come back, do 2-0. Also, some crazy battling toward the beginning of the race. This is always insane toward the beginning because you have the crazy tight turns and everything. Looks like Diesel Dragon pulling out slightly ahead toward the beginning, but with Daniver not too far behind. You know they're close when you can barely see the other player on the map at all because they're right just under each other.
Yeah, it looks like they took very slightly different routes, Diesel Dragon ending up a bit ahead of Daniver. But yeah, I mean, those small differences are going to determine who is going to take this early lead, and Diesel Dragon, he's going to take it as we head onto the straightaway section. What's going to be very important is nitro management, because in this section here, if you don't use Shockwave or Perfect Nitro, both of them are going to use Shockwave actually, then you might lose a lot of speed. This jump section here is going to be very tricky. I'm sure some of these players are probably going to go safer. What a barrel roll.
Oh
that
my
was pretty
goodness.
Crazy.
I
overspin.
gotta say, I hate that jump section. I try to avoid it at all costs, but they both came out of it very well, I would say. A little like crazy barrel back there. And Diesel Dragon, though, still ahead, but right on each other's tail. And Diesel Dragon knows if he's able to win this, he's got the match. But Daniver isn't too far behind, so I think we'll be able to see him do pretty much everything he can to be able to
Oh, no.
Oh, maybe not. Oh, my goodness. He
There
wrecks.
it is.
yeah, that's the decider right there.
Yeah, that wreck right there is going to decide this match, unless, of course, Diesel Dragon makes some crazy couple of mistakes in a row. But like I said, couple of mistakes in a row, because this lead has just been extended almost infinitely. There's no way Daniver can catch up at this point. Diesel Dragon, he's going to play as safe as possible. And honestly, wow, I mean, that little pull is very hard to sort of go around, so a lot of players will take the safer route on the outside. But Daniver wanted to go for that riskier play, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, and then Diesel Dragon toward the end taking an extremely safe route to be careful not to wreck to take the victory at the end, because those ramps at the end there, they can spin you every which way and you could go into a wall, and he did not win any of that. And because of that, he takes the second race 2-0.
Yeah, and we're going to have Paul come in. Whoop. Yeah, Paul, come on back. Come on.
I know we're excited, guys. I know we're excited. These have been some big races, and I have to give so many props. Both those players, they're huge. One thing I noticed in that second race, and maybe we'll see this in the highlights, I'm not sure, is that I think Daniver was actually forced onto the lower ground in that second race. I don't think that was necessarily their intent, and that allowed Diesel Dragon to get the early lead, and that's sort of what it felt like once again. Daniver has, a bit of a lead here at the start, but once Diesel Dragon's able to get that back, it's just so tough. These players are so good at knowing when to play safe, when to go for the risky maneuvers. I cannot fault Daniver at all, but it just felt like slightly better turning, slightly better nitro management, and slightly better pathing is what allowed Diesel Dragon to get the lead time and again and hold on to it. And man, I mean, I think this is going to be an epic finals regardless, but man, if Diesel Dragon had been on the other side of that semifinals, I think this player is good enough that they very easily could have made it into that grand finals themselves. Not easily, but definitely could have done it, because this was sick. Firam, I mean, talk about a crazy third place round.
Yeah, I think so too. Diesel Dragon, I mean, both of them played very well. I just think Diesel Dragon played everything just ever so slightly better than Daniver. I mean, we saw in this race with Daniver just not taking the turn quite sharp enough to be able to get the ramp. And then on our second race here, Diesel Dragon again just staying slightly ahead throughout a lot of it. Both players, of course, they know the tracks well. It's not due to knowing the tracks poorly or anything like that. It's just all the little things that can happen that you might not be able to account for. And since you can't restart, you gotta just go with the flow.
Yeah, we talked a lot about in some of the earlier series these sort of recoveries that players have to make from mistakes. We saw that Jay was very good at those, and unfortunately Daniver was just not quite there when it comes to recovery, but it was close. I have to give props to both of these players. They played extremely well for this third place decider.
Yeah, they most certainly did. And Diesel Dragon, again, we saw him go slightly riskier the first time here. I mean, getting a crazy barrel there, but he was not about to do that on the second lap. No, he wasn't, because he knew he had the victory in the bag if he just did not wreck on that final section.
I mean, but they were still close. Daniver, I mean, mounted a heck of a comeback, but again, it's just the way taking these corners just not quite as well. Even Diesel Dragon, they're burning the shockwave going through that vehicle there to help offset the speed loss they would otherwise get. And then you guys called it. Once that wreck came through, that tiny mistake, that's it. That's GG. There's no coming back from that. Oh man, in either case, props to Diesel Dragon, a player we highlighted multiple times over the course of the ladder, constantly up there at the top of the leaderboard and showing us why with a stellar 2-0 performance, which means we get to look at our final updated bracket going into our grand finals. We get to see how it all shook out. Pickle and Proud Papa, A9UF and RPM being represented here in the grand finals on Android. Cubs going toe-to-toe, and I'm excited to see who is going to come out on top. Proud Papa, of course, a veteran of our competition, someone we've seen time and time again, but Pickle has been putting in the work as well, showing up, like I said, during the weeks over the course of these races. So I think very much this could be anyone's game. Speaking of game, let's get to it. Firam, Marf, let's go.
Now we're moving on to our final rounds. This time we're going to be taking a look at Pickle versus Proud Papa. on Scotland. Again, this is the first of 5. It could go either way.
Oh,
and,
no.
Oh no, Pickle with
That's
a
a quick
very
one.
early wreck there. Oh my goodness. That gives Proud Papa a very early lead. Can Pickle come back from this? Proud Papa might have to make a mistake for that.
Yeah, this was very early on, so this gives Pickle a lot of time to catch up, but we know how good Proud Papa is. Oh, Pickle almost does a little barrel roll there, but he saves himself from wrecking there. But again, it's not very often you see these players come back so quickly from one of these wrecks. So again, it's lucky that Pickle has a lot of time in order to come back. They haven't even completed their first lap yet, but this lead is, well, it's pretty big. Proud Papa is miles ahead of Pickle as he is now on to his second lap.
And Pickle is still finishing up his first lap here. I mean, he's taking all the strategy, shockwaving off that tiny little bump to get some airspeed. Proud Papa, though, just not letting anything happen to him. He is absolutely flying with that shockwave through there. Pickle not making the same mistake on the second lap, but I don't think it's going to be enough in order to catch up to Proud Papa. Proud Papa just got too much of a lead here.
No, both of these players, even though they're playing pretty perfectly in this second lap, Proud Papa, just because of that little mistake or that wreck in the first lap for Pickle, that's just going to secure him this first race in our best of 5. They are, sort of catching up, but there's just not enough time. There's not another lap. These players have to be perfect within the 2 laps they're given. Proud Papa not even going for that ramp there because he knows he needs to play safe, just secure this victory, and, well, he's got it in the bag.
Yeah, and he absolutely does secure that victory after a devastating wreck in the first lap by Pickle. I think that's probably the earliest wreck that we've seen in any of these races so far.
Yeah, that was pretty early on. And again, there was a lot of time to catch up, but unfortunately Pickle just, he couldn't do it. But we're going to go into the second race. Pickle, he could just brush it off. We have to go into the second race and see if Pickle can pull it back. It's a best of 5, so there's no pressure for Proud Papa, at least right now. He can just cruise on the second match. He knows he has a bit of a lead as they head into this first lap here. Proud Papa, he's going to be a bit behind of Pickle, and they're going to see how these players use this. Oh my God, what is that? Is a lot of spins here for Pickle. That causes him to go on the bottom, and Proud Papa, he's going to take the lead now.
Yeah, he will. I mean, that was crazy. I don't think he intended to do that really at all. Proud Papa taking the early lead here. The thing is with these is since you've got 5 matches instead of just 3, there's a lot more time to, to come back. Even if, say, one player gets twice in a row, the other player could come back in the next 3. I'm not sure if we've seen that before, but it absolutely could happen here.
I mean, I do have to say, I love myself an amazing best of 5 reverse sweep from esports, and that could be certainly something on our table here. As we see Pickle, he's actually catching up pretty closely to Proud Papa. This is not as far as we just previously discussed, so at any moment, Proud Papa could make a mistake, and Pickle could take this lead as they head into the second lap, the big corner here. It all depends on how you sort of go through those cars, because you can get extra nitro from going pretty close. Pickle does an interesting barrel roll. That's going to give him a bit more nitro. Proud Papa is just maintaining this lead ever so slightly. Some overspin, some from Pickle. That's going to slow him down just a bit. But again, this lead is not too big.
No, it looks like Pickle is catching up ever so slowly to Proud Papa. If Pickle is able to pull this off, he's right in line in order to take this whole match. But if Proud Papa wins this one, and Pickle knows this, Pickle will have to get 3 in a row in order to win the whole thing, and Proud Papa just doesn't look like he's going to let that happen. Any little mistake, though, since they're so close, really could mean the difference, but we've got past that crazy barrel where sometimes if you go too high, you could wreck. It looks like Proud Papa is going to have an easy win on this one.
Yep, there he does. He takes the second race here. Unfortunately, Pickle couldn't quite recover fast enough, but it was definitely a great effort, I do have to say.
Yeah, I would definitely say so too. That was a very well-played race overall. Again, we didn't see any wrecks or anything like that. Really, though, the difference was Pickle had that little mistake toward the beginning of the lap, and that's one thing that I've noticed. Later on, we have seen a lot more, not really wrecks or huge mistakes, but just little ones, maybe accidentally going the wrong way or stuff like that to make the difference instead.
But yeah, we have our next race coming up, so let's just jump into that. We will need to see the reverse sweep from Pickle in order for him to take this best of 5. This could be the last race of the ESL Mobile Open North America Finals for ASPHALT 9, as we see Pickle take the early lead here in San Francisco.
Yeah, Pickle does not want to let Proud Papa get ahead at the beginning. He does not at all. So he takes that early lead. Now the question is, can he maintain it? Thing is here, a lot more is on stake for Pickle than it is for Proud Papa at this point. And oh no, Pickle, he goes too wide. That might decide it right there. We do still have 2 laps though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty early wreck. Not as early as we've seen on Scotland, but again, it all comes down to how Pickle recovers. But we know Proud Papa is not going to let that happen. But we still have another whole lap of competition. And so, again, we'll have to see how Proud Papa takes it. Is he going to take it safer, or is he just going to go balls to the wall? Is he just going to go risky and just finish it as early as he can?
Yeah, and as we've seen, if you do try to go risky on City by the Bay, sometimes you might regret it afterwards. So I'm thinking Proud Papa is definitely going to try to play the safe routes here. I'm really curious to see if he even goes for that shortcut over to the bridge where you drop off and then go up the barrel there or not. Because in the past, I mean, we've seen with one player, he's gotten on the wrong way because of that.
Yeah, lots of players have been doing this hundreds of times, so it's not quite easy to mess up, but it can happen. And yeah, as you said, Proud Papa, he's not going to go for that barrel roll. Pickle has to. He has to do this in order to catch up. But Proud Papa is very close to finishing this lap and securing the grand finals here, and it just doesn't look like Pickle has anything to say about it.
Yeah, even though Pickle has been catching up throughout the second lap ever so slightly, Proud Papa's able to maintain that lead. The lead was too great, and he does a little victory 360 as he finishes our final race in the final match. A complete sweep, 3-0.
Yeah, pretty surprising. We didn't see Pickle put up one single race. And yeah, Paul, why don't you tell us your thoughts about this?
My thoughts are that Proud Papa is sick. Like, as much as, you know, some of it came down to Pickle making some errors, Proud Papa just didn't. As we take a look back, it continuously is Proud Papa going to wreck in response? Is he going to make a mistake that creates that opening? And the answer was universally no. He will not. He will not give you an opening. He will not give you a chance. He will not give you a shot. He will not give you one tiny little opening for which you can come back into this race. Once he gets that lead, he holds on with an iron grip. And he just looked so impressive the whole way through. That veteran status, like the Jay said, I mean, you know, we saw in that interview, it's all about staying calm, and Proud Papa looked calm and collected. Again, so many props to Pickle, not afraid to go, you know, all in on this, not afraid to go for the tricks, not afraid to go for the risk, but it just wasn't enough. Those tiny little mistakes, you cannot make them at this level of competition. Fear him. It was just too clean.
It really was. I would say that Proud Papa's racing in these races has been some, or quite possibly the cleanest match that we've seen so far from a single player. I mean, he didn't wreck. He didn't really have any huge mistakes. He just played and played and played. And whenever he was in an instance where he had it, he just played safely. So I think Proud Papa definitely deserves this top spot. Pickle, though, definitely put up a very, very good fight against him. As we could see, these races were still extremely close. It was not like really, like Proud Papa didn't get way ahead at all.
Cool, calm, clean, collected. Proud Papa is a beast. But yeah, I do have to give some props to Pickle. He did mount some pretty nice recoveries, I do have to say, but there just wasn't enough time for him to catch up, especially from those early wrecks. And this mistake here from Pickle, I'm not sure if he collided with something that led him onto that route there, but nevertheless, that is pretty much the decider for our last race, that little mistake there.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if Proud Papa like nudged him a little bit, accidentally probably, in order to get him to go over there. That's what it looked like to me, and even if it was accidental, which it looked like, it really gave Proud Papa the victory there.
Look, you guys are obsessed with clean racing. I like it when they bump into each other, all right? I like a little bit of additional action, so maybe it was an accident, but I'd like to think it was a little bit of strategic little bumper car action like we saw earlier on iOS in particular. In either case, though, it was a 3-0. It was clean. It was everything we wanted to see here from Proud Papa. Again, coming back and showing up in a big way. I got a chance to sit down and talk to him about this win. Let's take a look.
Hey, Proud Papa, welcome back and congratulations. You are our ESL Mobile Open champion, back once again in the competition. You know, you took a really convincing win there in the grand finals. Talk to us about what it was like to, walk away with this championship.
Oh man, that was awesome. I mean, I think this is my third time in there. First time, I think I lost all my races. Not good. Second time, came in second place, and third time's a charm, I guess. I took it down. Fortunately, 3-0, didn't have to go in the deep rounds. It was awesome.
For sure. I mean, talk to us a little bit about the preparation that comes into an event like this. Obviously, it's, routing and it's, making sure the speed tricks are in line, but talk to us a little bit about what it's actually like in the final moments when you're head to head, because obviously that's not how you qualify to get here. It's all time trials. Talk to us a little bit about the practice and then how the practice is applied to that one-on-one.
Yeah, practicing, I mean, in events, you can play as much as you want until it ends. But I mean, when you get down to the finals and it's one-on-one, it's, you cannot make a mistake, especially us switching to the Devo, which is a faster car. I mean, one little mistake and that's it. You're pretty much over. And it's a lot more intense. I think the past experience I've had being here helped a lot. And just knowing the routes and the courses already, it definitely helped.
For sure. Again, that competitive experience that you have now, being here multiple times, the jitters, the nerves sort of settle down a little bit, and you can just focus on getting that W, which you certainly did. I mean, sure, still, but maybe a little bit less this time around. Do you have any shout outs, though, for anyone out there who's cheering you on before we say goodbye?
Yes, definitely. First, my old team, Tectonic Racers, TRC. I was with them for over 2 years. It's a great club. Anybody wants to go hit them up, do it. RPM can't save enough. They've been a great club to join. They have multiple servers you can come and learn from, the RPM Learning Ground. It's a great team club to be involved with, and definitely can't thank them enough either.
Awesome. Well, you heard it there. If you're interested in joining up, hitting up some great clubs, definitely go do that. And thank you so much again for the interview. Congratulations. Go celebrate your win.
Thank you. Definitely. Thanks for having me.
All smiles, all smiles, all smiles. And why would you not after a 3-0 victory in the grand finals? And third time's the charm for the big ol' 3-0. Congrats once again to Proud Papa and all the racers across all the tournaments, even making it here out of the tens of thousands of racers who competed in our time trials. Even making it to this stage of the competition is a huge accomplishment. So props to all of them, not only for the spot, but prize money. Also feeling pretty good. But I mean, that's basically it for us tonight, guys. Before I say goodbye to you both, an amazing first cast together, absolutely crushed it. But starting with you, Firam, give me your closing thoughts.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. This has got to have been my favorite season so far. Very fun, entertaining all around. It was really funny to see the contrast between just the Wreckfest of iOS, just being a demolition derby, like you said, Marv, and then Android being this like clean, pristine racing most of the time. I don't know. I had a lot of fun, and these were some great races to cast. I loved it.
Marv.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say after what you said, Firam. The differences between Android and iOS were pretty massive today, and it was great to see that contrast. But I do have to say, I love me some crispy races on that Android side. That was great to see. The neck on neck, barrel on barrel. It was just great to see these players come together and really show us a great time with those incredibly close races.
And just having to react to each other in real time. Who's going to take this corner? Who's going to have to adjust the route? How do you then have to manage your nitro for the rest of these next few turns to compensate for that? The amount of processing that these players have to do at any given moment is so impressive, which is what makes these races so amazing. And you guys brought us the action from start to finish. Thank you so much for the amazing cast. I'm going to say goodbye to you guys tonight. Go relax, take it easy as I bring Glitter Explosion back to round out the evening and get some final thoughts before we say goodbye. Yes, big applause, big applause. How are you feeling?
Okay, so you remember when at the beginning You brought me in and you were like, how are you feeling today? And I was like, I'm just really excited for a day of only Asphalt 9 because that's all I want to do. You understand why now?
Yes.
Holy crap.
Yes.
Like, what? Everything. It was aggressive. It was so close, neck and neck in so many of our races. I mean, this was I had popcorn out the entire time.
I believe it. And it was who's going to keep making mistakes and who's going to make one. And that's what was so great. Are they going to go on tilt? Are they going to continue to make errors? Or, oh my goodness, Proud Papa's looking unstoppable. Is he ever going to mess up? The answer was no. Spoiler alert. 3-0, 3-0 in our grand finals with the J and Proud Papa, respectively. Both of them absolutely popping off when it matters most. And of course, walking away with that prize money to boot. Feels pretty darn good. But yeah, overall, great season. Thank you all to everyone who's tuned in, who supported the players every single week. If you're not following us on social media, continuing to support there, go do so. Go shout out. Go give the love over to the players over on social, on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you happen to be. Go give the players some love. And of course, be sure to be following along to keep up with all the updates there for maybe future stuff coming down the road. But look, it's been a long, amazing night of just Asphalt 9 Legends. It's been fantastic, and I can't wait to see what happens next. So for myself and Verum, Glitter, the casters, the crew, thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Feel the light, see the stage, hear the vibe. Pumped up to get ready for the fight. Big dreams, one chance, be the star. I'm the winner coming out of the dark. No fear, getting ready for the ride. Yeah, stepping into the light. No limit, aim high. No limit, the prize is mine.
Step out as a motivator. Let them know that the weight's up. That's how we know when we level up. Hey, that's how we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up.
Back against the wall, still I'm standing tall. Know about the ball, I got my fan with me. All we know is ball to empty out the mouth. The chosen one they call, I take my fan with me. Know about it if you tell, know you're breaking codes. What your credibility and all fall like dominoes. Can you really take a stance? All I wanna know. Need me real ones when it's time to go. Step it in, elevator. Listen to all the haters. That's all we know when we level up. Yeah, that's all we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up. I found out I'm not alone. 'Cause I'm just like you. There's no feeling when we fight. We're not afraid to. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up. Feel the light, see the stage, hear the vibe. Pumped up to get ready for the fight. Big dreams, one chance, be the star. I'm the winner coming out of the dark. No fear, getting ready for the ride. Yeah, stepping into the light. No limit, aim high. No limit, the prize is mine.
Step out as a motivator. Let them know that the weight's up. That's how we know when we level up. Hey, that's how we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up.
Back against the wall, still I'm standing tall. Know about the ball, I got my fan with me. All we know is ball to empty out the mouths. The chosen one they call, I take my fan with me. Know about it if you tell, know you're breaking codes. What your credibility and all fall like dominoes. Can you really take a stance? All I wanna know. Need me real real ones when it's time to go. Stepping in, elevator, listen to all the haters. That's all we know when we level up. Yeah, that's all we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up. I found out I'm not alone, 'cause I'm just like you. There's no failing when we fight. We're not afraid to. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up. Feel the light, see the stage, hear the vibe. Pumped up to get ready for the fight. Big dreams, one chance, be the star. I'm the winner coming out of the dark. No fear, getting ready for the ride. Yeah, stepping into the light. No limit, aim high. No limit, the prize is mine.
Step out as a motivator. Let them know that the weight's up. That's how we know when we level up. Ay, that's how we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up.
Back against the wall, still I'm standing tall. Know about the ball, I got my fan with me. All we know is ball to empty out the mouths. The chosen one they call, I take my fan with me. Know about it if you tell, know you're breaking codes. What your credibility and all fall like dominoes. Can you really take a stance? All I wanna know. Need me real ones when it's time to go. Stepping in, elevator, listen to all the haters. That's all we know when we level up. Yeah, that's all we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up. I found out I'm not alone, 'cause I'm just like you. There's no failing when we fight. We're not afraid to. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall